Okay, everybody, welcome back to the CoachCon Podcast. So this is episode 4. I'm very pleased to say that today I'm joined by my friend Josh Coulson, who is a bodybuilder and also now a coach as well. So we're going to get an awful lot from this today. So Josh, for those of us that don't know you just yet, tell us a little bit about you and what got you into bodybuilding in the first place.
So I was always a competitive person, especially when I was younger. I was a gymnast for 5 or 6 years, competed regionally, nationally, had one international competition. I always had that bug to get better. But every time I looked in the mirror, especially back then, I really didn't like what I seen. I was always the skinny person with abs, and I always felt small. And me being 5'6", I am physically small, but I wanted to kind of get into the gym first to then look better, as everybody does. And ultimately, as many people do, I spent the first few years just spinning my wheels, just getting in and training, not really knowing how to structure nutrition, just kind of training hard. I've always been able to train hard. Thankfully, I was around people who always wanted to stress for 1 rep maxes, which ultimately isn't the best. And being 27 now, my joints definitely feel the consequences of my own actions when I was a child, when I was younger, when I was a teenager. It was a case of just my ego kind of going through and through there. But once I kind of saw people do bodybuilding and just saw that kind of the pursuit of constantly trying to better yourself, I got hooked. And then this is once after I was lifting for about 4 or 5 years with no structure. I got with a coach, and that really did expedite the process there. And I really fell in love with eating right, training hard, like tracking everything meticulously. And it didn't come naturally. It took a lot of learning. Like my coach, as you know, I believe your coach, Billy.
Certainly, yes.
Like when he first gave me a meal plan and said, eat that, I nearly had a heart attack. So I'd never ever planned a meal in my entire life. But we got there, and since training and eating consistently, training hard, tracking everything, I just saw great improvement, and I saw my physique just come to life. And then obviously you always think, well, what can I do next? What is the next step for me in order to get to that next level, to make myself feel like I want to feel like how I want to be? And I always used to look at people in the gym who were bigger than me, Billy being one of them. And I was like, I want to do that. And then after that, the bodybuilding rabbit hole ate me alive, realistically. And I shredded down in 2023, built back up, shredded down in 2024, and finally competed. And then kind of in this void sort of state where I am now, where I'm kind of just bouncing here, there, and everywhere to try to find somewhere where I stick after my like bodybuilding era, is what I always call it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of low down for me. I went from a skinny kid who was always competitive to somebody who wanted to just compete against themselves every single day. And that is kind of where I am.
Brilliant. No, I love that, mate. I think a lot of folks that have been in your space with the competing and that kind of thing will certainly resonate with that. But one thing I'd love to know as well, obviously from the outside, we see, the shredded physique and the stage shots and everything like that. But what's the day-to-day reality like during a prep coming up to a show?
Well, a prep coming up for a show, it is a lot of monotony in essence, because we are just going in, getting the steps done. We eat the same meals every single day. When you're training, you don't always get the buzz, or the want or the need or the drive. But at the end of the day, bodybuilding is something you throw your hat into. You want to do it. Nobody tells you to bodybuild. Nobody is holding you saying, if you don't, you're going to get fired, because you choose to do it. So I always see people online treat it as this task, this chore, but at the end of the day, you've enrolled into it and you're doing it. So you have to try to strike daily wins and just take little things from every day, because especially when you get into the harsh reality of eating low calories, at my lowest, I was eating 1,300 calories and I still had 40 minutes of cardio to do most days. I still had to train, and there's not a lot of things going into my body, but there is a lot of what I'm asking my body to do in order to win the day. So for me, the biggest win would always be doing cardio, because matterless of how much I try to let my hamstrings recover, my hamstrings were sore to touch every single day. So matterless, if I even stroked my hand across my hamstring, just pain. And I remember getting up messaging Billy, this is like 2 weeks out, saying, am I doing cardio today? Is the look there? And then I would just get a message back and I'd fold my fingers and be like, is it pulled? And he'd go do cardio. And then it's just a case of headphones on, tunnel vision, and getting it done. Because at
Yeah.
that point, at the later stages where your output is so high, but the things you put into your body is so low, you don't have motivation, you don't get a pump, you don't want to do it. But you know, the more times you tick the boxes, the better you're going to look on that day. And it's ultimately why I never missed a beat. Like, as Billy will always sing my praises for this. If Billy told me to eat shit, I would. Because at the end of the day, I had to get everything I could out of the process. And I think on my stage day, I got everything that I could have got out of it. Like, I was very, very lean. I would say the leanest I've ever been. My muscles were as full as they could have been for the day.
100%.
And ultimately, all that dedication, all the hardships, all the not feeling good enough, the anxieties, the stresses, all came down to that day where I got to stand on stage and see every other person on stage knowing they've done the same thing. And I made a great amount of friends from it.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the day. It was fantastic. Even though
Brilliant.
actually being in Birmingham wasn't the best because my fiance's car got vandalised and I couldn't actually make it to my tanning. So there was a lot of stress the night before.
Yeah.
But
Dreadful.
matterless, we got there, got it done.
Fantastic. No, that's brilliant, mate. And I think again, a lot of people see that end product and they're not seeing the sacrifices and such that go on. But would you say there was any specific sacrifices socially, mentally, like physically, that you had to be making sort of during preps?
Well, ultimately, if you are in prep and you want to do it well, you have to say no to most things that come your way. There's not
Yeah.
a time where, like, if you go out with your friends, well, that could mess up your sleep, that could mess up this or that. And if you are as meticulous as I am, I had to make sure I was in bed for 8 hours. I didn't always sleep for 8 hours, but I was in bed for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Every time my mum tried to throw food at me or just taste this, just taste that. No. And it's just little things that's what will catch people up. And I feel like that's what catches a lot of like people in the general population up is they'll go, oh, do you want a taste of that? And we go, yeah. And before you know it, you've just consumed a bit of calories, which might not make the difference then, but if that becomes in part of your routine of trying every meal of every day, it's going to add up. And
Yeah.
it's going to skew your result. So the sacrifices realistically are you say no a lot to your friends. You don't often go out. It's a very solo sport.
Yeah.
Like my fiance, even though we live together, there was not a lot of times where I was spending much time. If I was spending much time, it was genuinely on my walking pad because I had steps to do.
Yeah.
But you can still go out and do things every now and then. But in the day to day, it is just a case of literally it's Groundhog Day. You repeat the same thing with a different session, day in, day out, day in, day out, and then you get there and you get to the day and everything changes. Your routine goes out the window, and then obviously from there you can lead into post show where. Whew, what was not the best time for me.
Certainly. No, well, we'll definitely get into that. And a question that will kind of touch on that is: has your relationship with food changed sort of over the journey that you've done? Would you say?
Definitely, because now I eat for performance, and ultimately that's what I tend to do. Matterless of whether food tastes good or bad, as long as I know it's going to make me hit X variable, I'll consume the food. So it's it's a case of like eat to live or live to eat. In essence, I really want to fuel my body the best I can, so I don't have much digestive stress, but I can make my performance as good as possible when I'm doing any sort of activity. And I know ultimately, as long as I'm eating clean, I'm going to be getting closer towards those goals of being that like fitter, better human. Obviously, you
Certainly.
can have the occasional burger, have a nice time, but I would say like 6 days out of 7 in a week, you want to be eating bang on.
Yeah.
Realistically, 7 days, and then you'll have one meal every now and then. But my relationship from food has went from having all of the niceties to then being locked into solely just basics, because the basics always win, no matter what. The more things you add to your food, the more chance you're going to screw your digestion, add 1,000 calories, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. No, 1,000,000%. So Obviously, your mindset is something very bulletproof that I think a lot of people can take a lot from and apply it day to day themselves. One example would be, of course, during your training sessions. So what's going through your head specifically in the sessions when the energy's low, but that show is still miles away? What goes through your mind?
Simply just be yourself and do better. Matterless of how you feel, your body can still perform. It's this thing that you get put into your head of, oh, I feel tired. Well, instantly you've just hit yourself with a negative there. And then you're going to be thinking about that. And then because of that, you might not perform as well. I don't care how I feel. I look at the data, which is I got, say, 6 reps on an exercise. And all I do is I will beat that, or I will try my hardest to beat it. And I may not beat it, but regardless of how you feel, your body can perform. You know what I mean? It's right now, like, bodybuilding is a very protected sport, as in you go into a gym, you're
Yeah,
lifting on a machine that is programmed to keep you as safe as possible, as long as you're not a twat with it. So, regardless of how I feel, I know I can still try my hardest to get there,
yeah,
because I'm not doing some. I'm not like in the military. I'm not in the army going fighting. I'm not in actual danger. All I'm doing is
yeah,
being in a severe calorie deficit whilst training very, very safely. it's
yeah,
it's that it's that switch that you've got to make, because it's not life or death. As much as you put it in your head, you put on the screamo music, you get into your feelings of, oh, if I don't lift this weight, my family's going to die, or something crazy, if you're really, really feeling bad. But ultimately, you know that if you don't quite make the weight move how you want it to, there's going to be a tomorrow. And I think
yeah,
that's something that is nice to keep in mind, that no matter what, there's going to be another day to win. But if the motivation isn't there, you still have to be determined. Determination is the key factor towards your success. If you are consistent and you are determined, you will get towards your goals. If not, there's a chance that you're, oh, I'm not going to train that hard, or, oh, I'm feeling a bit bad today, I'm going to eat this donut, which I bet the
yeah,
donut tastes good while you're eating it, but then you feel like shit after. So what is the point?
yeah. No, that's brilliant, and I think that's definitely something that even Gen Pop day to day sort of clients, people can take on board, because I think we've all done it, haven't we? Where you've sort of gone,
Yeah,
oh well, yeah, I'll have this, and you feel guilty after, and you know, fat lasts longer than
oh yeah.
flavour, doesn't it?
I
but
love that. Yeah.
but one thing I'd ask as well is, how would you deal with, say, the dark patches, if you like, during prep, where the motivation dips?
So you always just think of the end product. I always say, think that you're already competed and work back from it, and just think like it's going to get better. Like right now, you're in a part of your life where you are in a severe calorie deficit. Your output is through the roof. We're not recovering properly, but I know that, say if the competition was 12 weeks away, in 13 weeks' time, I'm going to be absolutely fine. I'm going to be in a surplus. My body's not going to need to like have as much output. There's going to be a lot of relief, so I'm not going to be as fatigued. And as I say, ultimately, I've signed up for it, so it's a case of like, if I'm not enjoying it, I just need to suck it up and do it, because I know when I get onto stage, I've ticked every box, I've turned every stone, and like I can just bring the best package. So
Yeah,
it's kind of just thinking of your goal and thinking of your reason why are you doing this. I wanted to showcase my body to its full potential, and how can I get there? And that is being determined and being consistent. When my brain told me no, I was like, I'm doing it anyway. Doesn't matter. I don't care if I can't. Like if my legs hurt, who cares? It's like there'd be times where I wanted to go to bed and I would have like 3,000 steps, and I'd be like, well, I'm going to do 3,000 steps.
yeah,
And there's no ifs or buts about it, because you have to be meticulous in order to be at your best. And if you're not, then you're not going to bring your best. And then there's always that question of, oh, but I could have done this better. Where I know I did everything my coach asked me to do. So there was not a possibility for me to slip up. I brought the best package based on what I did. So I'm happy. I'm genuinely, I'm happy with my competition. I'm happy with the placing. Like I placed third, and I'm absolutely buzzing with that. You know what I mean? I couldn't have asked for a better day. And during show day and even the night before, I was full of beans. Like there were some people who looked so locked in and laser focused. I was having the time of my life. I socialised with everybody. We had press up competitions, because we all made it. We all made it to that final final time, and it's honestly it's a feeling of euphoria when you actually get towards your goal. Also, there's a there's a lot of anxiety and things of like, well, what happens now? But
Yeah.
when you're in it and you're going through that day, you know it's all been worth it.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate, I do love to ramble.
No, it's brilliant, mate. We're getting some absolute gold out of you here, mate. It's more welcomed, so go for it. I mean, would you say, obviously, you love your training and you've loved the journey and everything like that, but when you've had points, if any, have you ever had anywhere it's stopped being fun and the enjoyment's gone a little bit? And if so, how'd you get through it?
Is that during like the prep?
Yeah, just again, just sort of prep, just when it's coming up to show time. Is it again just thinking of having that big day in mind and you get through it?
Yeah, ultimately, if you've signed up for a prep and you are like 8 weeks out, 6 weeks out, you have already dealt with a lot of demons in your own head, a lot of like, what ifs, am I good enough? And you know from there how to cope with it is just by ticking the boxes, because there's going to be some days where you don't genuinely feel good enough, and that is okay. As a human being, you will experience every emotion, and when you are when you are starving yourself on the daily, sometimes those emotions are exacerbated, and that is okay. I would say if ever you're in that dark patch and you yourself can't quite get there, reach out to your circle. If you have a supportive circle of friends and family members who are going to be there by your side, know your goal and know how hard it is, you can always lean on them to get their input and ultimately pull you out of where you are at. Because even though bodybuilding is a very individual sport, there is a very big supportive network around if you build it correctly. If you have 6 people who know your journey and know how badly you want it, they are going to support you. But if you have 6 people who don't know your journey and don't support you, it's just going to make your life hell. So it's like being selective realistically. So say if I had 5 friends and all of them went out every weekend, they love takeaways and things like that. When I'm dedicating my life to being starving all the time and ticking boxes, is that going to be a supportive circle for me? It's not going to be. So I need to find that circle where there's other people who are like-minded and want me to achieve my goals, and then by proxy, I want them to achieve their goals.
Yes.
So ultimately, to answer your question, having a support circle that truly understands and cares about you is very, very beneficial.
That's brilliant. No, definitely. It's kind of, you become almost the average of the people that you surround yourself with, and I think that's very much true. I think obviously our gym, Ultraflex, and some of the folks that get in there, obviously Billy Wright, who we have in our corner and that kind of thing. It's very much picking those people to support you, and that's I think we've been very lucky to have that, and I think I would encourage anybody to kind of get a good circle like that. Definitely, whether it's competitions or, even just wanting to go through a transformation. I think getting that circle right is paramount for sure. So,
absolutely.
Obviously, we touched briefly before on the post-show side of things, so I'd love to know what that kind of looked like for you, from going from the, even just the highs, lows, that coming away from that intense focus and obviously looking as incredible as you did on the day. What does the post-show side of things look like?
So I want to rewind in essence, because I actually did this the opposite way to normal people. So when I dieted down in 2023, I was very, very lean. I could have easily competed then, but I didn't. And I went home on that day and I treated myself with additional rice to my chicken and rice meal. And then from there, the day after, I was focused and I was locked in. Okay. So I did the right thing in 2023 when I wasn't competing. But 2024, post-show, I enjoyed my treats, and I would say I housed about 10,000 calories on that first day. After, like, on the show day, once I finished competing, I had a big 5 guys, and then I continued into day 2, and I kept eating like shit. And my meals were no longer protein; they were just full shit, like brownies and anything you could ask for, like that. And then day 3, I was like, I could tidy it up, but I didn't, and I kept eating badly. And it took to the point where I was consuming, like, I had 30 or 40,000 calories in a few days, and I had 3 nosebleeds in one day. And when I got to that point, I was like, okay, this may be a bit silly. But by that point, my man, the damage had been done. And I put on 10 kilograms post-show. So within 3 days, I added 10 kilo. And only 4 kilograms of that came off. So I put on quite a lot that wasn't muscle. I completely ruined all gaining potential. I have a successful reverse diet. And ultimately, I just came victim to the trap of from being in an immense structure to having no structure at all. And I really grabbed those reins and I went for it. And it took I think like 3 to 4 months to kind of regain the condition to a point where I was happy before then being able to push again. But it's a weird one because now I am more of a coach and that's like my day to day. I'm quite glad that I went through that process of being a twat realistically, because I can now tell my guys that having one off-plan meal after the fact is great, but if you ultimately take the piss like I did, you will experience horrendous digestive issues. There was not a time where I wasn't fully cramped up. I already suffer from IBS anyway, so horrendous idea for me. And I genuinely felt awful. I couldn't look in the mirror. I was completely destroyed from being in the best shape ever to looking horrendous like 2 weeks after. And that weight staying on me, it was one of the biggest mental minefields I ever had to deal with. But as I say, you can only learn. You can only learn from your past. So should I have done it? No. Am I happy I did it? No. Have I learned from it? Yes. Can I teach people from that experience? Yes. So it's kind of keeping that glass half full when I think back of it, because realistically, I was just a very naughty boy for a long period of time.
Certainly. No, that's definitely something that, is very much worth touching on. And something else that, we sort of discussed prior to getting everything sorted for today. Obviously, you were happy to touch on the side of things from going from natural to enhanced, which I think, again, a lot of people are going to get some terrific value from. And one thing I'll say is the thumbnail that I'll use is from when Josh was natural. So, again, that is showing the incredible work that you can do as a natural athlete, which is, I think, very much worth seeing. So, at what point did you decide to go down the enhanced route, and what drove that decision for you personally?
So, ultimately, anybody who's been in the gym for a while gets that itch of like, what if? What could I be if I jumped on? You know what I mean? That's always the thing. Especially now with TikTok and Instagram, and every third person you see is built like a fucking house. Everybody has that kind of itch, and in my head I was like, well, if I was ever going to do it, I need to have a purpose for it, and it's not just for the enhanced look. I'll have to compete, and I always wanted to compete, but I always told myself if I was going to compete, I would do everything in my power to do the best I could. And that meant, at that time, being enhanced. Okay? So that was the rationale behind it, is I wanted to compete. I wanted to do it while I was young, so my body can ultimately recover from it as well when I do decide to come off, which I have now. And yeah, just to scratch that itch. And I always look back at those photos that I had, because I looked outrageous. And it's crazy, because you never think of your look in the moment of how good it actually is. Every time I've came away from being like lean, I always feel like there's more there. There's more I could have done. But then 6 months out of it, when I've put on a lot of weight, I look back and I'm like, I am a freak of nature.
Yeah.
I always look back with fond memories.
Yeah, no, 1,000,000%. You definitely in that time. I remember saying you day to day, and the changes in the condition, everything unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you should be very, very proud of yourself. When you did obviously change to go down the enhanced route, was there anything that happened different, sort of, in terms of, mentally or even socially after making the move? Was anything different or anything like that?
So we'll break it down first. So socially, I was very open with everybody, like as I always am. You know me, I speak my mind. I don't really hold things back, which sometimes is a blessing, but most times is a curse. But I held it from my family, and that was very hard because, especially being on the changes that that I received from having perfect skin my entire life, other than like a bit of facial acne, was acne all over, and it was bad. And I've got photos of when it was at its worst, and honestly, it was crippling because I couldn't take my top off in my house because I felt ashamed and I didn't tell my family I did it. You know what I mean? So I always felt bad. I wouldn't wear vests in the gym because I'd feel constantly judged. Obviously, I would look good, but then you look at people on Instagram who are doing the same thing as you, and they haven't got that side effect, and you think, why have I got it? And ultimately, it's just not as aesthetically pleasing seeing somebody full blown acne to somebody with clear skin, and it's just obviously being very focused down the line of the perfect person has clear skin, this and that, and I didn't tick those boxes. So mentally, I actually felt pretty bad when it was at its highest point, when my skin was really horrible, even though everything else was going well. My lifts were increasing. I was adding muscle mass for fun. Like on low calories as well. Realistically, I was on like less than 3,000 calories, and I was putting on good size. But the skin factor was something that was always a big hindrance to me, and it took. I was on for 16 months in total, and it took at least like 6 to 8 of those months before I would wear a vest again and just accept that my skin isn't going to be amazing. And I know it sounds like so petty and so
No,
like
no.
so small-minded and like, oh, why do you care? But man, I care because I'm trying to look the best I can. And now I've been hit with a side effect that is very common.
Yeah.
But it's even though I've got all the muscle, when I display it, it just doesn't hit right. You know what I mean?
No, it's. I mean, one thing I'd say as well is, I mean, it is a common side effect you do see in gyms, but was there a particular compound that did it, and did it happen overnight, would you say, the acne side of things?
So for me, it was just being on more testosterone. Just that higher dose was enough to turn the scales and make that happen. And
See?
then I ran Accutane for 8 months or so to get the skin, which obviously isn't the most like healthy thing to do, but it's the best way to cure it. And it did go down, but now I've got scars for life all over my shoulders and all around my back. Even though it's good now, like it's nowhere near what it was. It's always something I'm going to carry. Whereas before I had clear skin, and I'm not asked about that. Like I don't. I'm not bothered about how I look now. Like I've one, I've accepted that it ain't all perfect, but two, it is at such a good point now where it's not even noticeable. So I am happy.
I'm pleased.
But
Yeah.
we'll go on to the positive sides of it as well,
Yeah, yeah,
because I
please.
know you're talking about like training and being in the set. So something I can no longer do is switch on like I could before. Like when you go on and you're in it, you can make every set feel like it's the last thing you're going to do in your life. And I know it sounds really stupid, but I could lock in seriously and immediately. Like I was 3 or 4 weeks out, and I did 80 kilo dumbbell RDLs, and I was like 68 kilo or 69 kilo or something. So it's that
Amazing.
that's 8 kilo per hand, and that was crazy. But I did a YouTube video on it, and I was screaming the place down. And I'm not normally one to go bananas, but because what was in me, it was literally life or death, and I got myself so angry, riled up. Everything was for this, and it's like when your brain holds back a bit of your strength. I feel like you can kind of tap into that potential because you can get yourself so wound up
Yeah.
to a point where it is a life or death situation, and then you can just do stupid things. Like my form wasn't great, but I was ultimately wired, and now that I'm no longer down that path and touching anything, when I go into the gym, a lot of times now it's just numb. And like I train and I don't feel anything. There's no aggression. And there's some songs that I used to put on that would make me go feral. And now it's just not the same. It's genuinely not the same. Like I would say a lot of my sessions now, I don't feel good, but I do it because I know if I tick the box, I can hold some level of my physique that I used to have.
Fair.
But yeah, and I say this a lot, and people just say like, "Oh, you can." It's just because of X and Y. But for me, ever since I've stopped, I have never been able to reach that level anymore. And it's kind of like because I went to here, and this is the emotions I could tap into, and now I'm always down here, and it's I do believe that is the reason why a lot of people will slip up and go back on, just to ease and get back into that feeling and have that kind of drive. Because right now my drive is because I know if I look at I use rep count. If I look at my rep count, and I'm like, I need to get 6 reps. No matter how I feel, I'll just still try to get the reps. But there's not that oomph behind it. There's not that like animal sitting on your shoulder being like, more, more,
Yeah.
more. It's a bit of a crazy one.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, and I think definitely for people that's either considering it or, anyone that's done these kinds of things will relate to it. So, one thing that I think's worth touching on as well is the industry isn't exactly honest enough, I don't think, about the differences between the two. And
Yes.
would you say that they should be try and be a little bit more honest about things in terms of like, he's this, he's that, that kind of thing?
I think realistically, in the eyes of people who aren't honest, everybody is a number, and a lot of the people who aren't honest are trying to make money out of people, or they're trying to put themselves on a pedestal where they'll earn sponsors and get money externally. So maybe not from people, but from big corporations. And for them, it is in their best interest to be as private as possible. So they may make a gesture here and there, but they'll never come out and admit it, just purely because the money's so good. Why would they? And I think realistically, that's been exacerbated by how prevalent social media is in this generation, in this age. Everybody's on it. Anybody, any person from the age of like even now that I'm getting older, 30 down,
Yeah,
if you tell them to check their screen time, realistically, it's going to be over an hour. And in a lot of cases, it's going to be well over 4 hours. And it's just because people get locked in the trap of swiping and swiping and swiping and swiping. And if you think the person who is on the other end of that, every time they get some engagement, they get a chance to earn more money,
yeah,
then why wouldn't you capitalize on that if you had that, like, if you had that, the ability to earn money that way? It's like, in essence, even though you're damaging your health, you're making quick, easy money that's going to set you up, set your family up. And even though money isn't everything, it helps. So if you can do that just by, like, say, even though Sam Sulek is extremely honest and open about it and everything, he obviously has been able to go from somebody who was in like college to somebody who now travels, has his own private compound, and is making money just for training, which is what he loves to do. And
yeah,
because there's so much money out there, why wouldn't you grab it? So bringing it all back, I would say ultimately it is just because you can make such such a great amount of money that why wouldn't you? Realistically, like if say if you're a coach and you're a dishonest coach and you say like you can look like me if you do that, and then loads of people go to you because you look ridiculous because you're enhanced, but you never tell anybody you're enhanced. You're making money off the back of people, which I do think that side of it is wrong, to be
yeah,
fair.
definitely.
But if you look at any company or any corporation, there's going to be some shady business going on.
100%. Yeah, it's such a juggernaut in terms of financial gain, and everyone
Yeah.
is sort of looking to make money in that space. But I think more transparency would definitely be a good thing. And one,
I would love for that. Yeah, I would love for more transparency to come out and just normalize it as well. Because
yeah,
I know steroids are still the demon, and it's at the end of the day, it's just another thing that people use, just like people use drugs for enjoyment, people use alcohol for enjoyment, and then there's the person who doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, but takes gear, and they're the ones who look bad, yet they are prioritizing their health.
yeah. No, definitely.
You know
There's
what I mean?
no. We can take something from that. 100%. It's. I think there's just a lack of understanding around it,
Yeah,
and that's something that needs to be communicated more effectively. Is there
I agree.
anything that you would say specifically to like the younger lads out there that's maybe scrolling TikTok saying all these enhanced guys without any context, any kind of advice, or words you'd give to them?
Yeah, it's like everybody back in the old days. Focus on yourself. There is no need for you to compare yourself with others. Yes, you're going to see it matterless, but if you just focus on your own progress and if you try to do everything in your power to get better, ultimately you're going to get where you want to be. But if you try to rush the process, you're just going to take the enjoyment out of it and never feel good enough. If you compare yourself to the 11 out of 10 genetics, or the people who blast enough gear to look monstrous, then how are you going to draw happiness from yourself? Because you're never going to get there. You've set that pedestal very high, and although like you want to set goals, ultimately you're going to live with yourself day in and day out. And this isn't like a sport where you go for an hour session and then you're done. This is a 24/7 thing. You look at yourself all of the time. You have to eat the right things all of the time. You've got to go to sleep. You've got to train well all of the time in order to make yourself look as good as you can. And if you then take the enjoyment and the pleasure out of it by comparing yourself to these people, then ultimately you're going to slip up, and you're going to want to jump on very early, which is just detrimental and silly in my opinion, or you're just going to hate it and stop. So ultimately, just focus on yourself and you will improve. It's the consistency and enjoying the journey that counts. The destination, you're going to make it as long as you enjoy the journey.
Brilliant. No, that's fantastic, mate. Very, very, very good words, certainly. And obviously, you've transitioned from competing into coaching. I'd love to know, what's that transition been like for yourself?
It's been great, because ultimately I have lived a life for so many years that has got me to look the way I have, and now it is instilling the same values I have been taught onto other people, which is fantastic. I've always been a coach. My last coaching gig was a gymnastics coach, because I had two passions in life. One was gymnastics, the other one was like bodybuilding. And now I've went from coaching children and some adults to now coaching adults, but towards the same goal, is to getting them to where they want to be. But this time they want to lose the body fat, build some muscle, feel better about themselves, gain confidence. And as I say, when I first started this journey, I was the skinny person with no muscle mass, who had no confidence. If you look back, I never used to post photos because I felt horrible about myself. I genuinely, it's a demon that was always there. And now, through constant pursuit of trying to be better, I'm in a position where I enjoy how I look, and I really would like to instill those same values and my journey onto other people. So it's been fantastic, because, as you say, like I've lived through it, and I've done this for over a decade now of being in the gym and learning, and being able to pass on my advice and education is great. I've had a few lads now, because the coaching only really started at the start of the year. I've had a few lads who have went from where they were to where they wanted to be.
Brilliant.
And honestly, the feedback you get, and meeting them in person as well. Honestly, once you've changed somebody's life, it's the best feeling ever. It's crazy.
Definitely.
I said this. It's a passion more than a job. Even though it is my job to do it. It has always been my passion, and it's why I always give the lads everything I've got. Like, no matter what, I will get them there. Whether it's like, if it's messaging them at silly o'clock, sending them out things, changing the plan enough times to make it work for them, I'll do anything in my power in order to make them get there. Because ultimately, I know from being a client myself what is required of a coach and what is required of a client to succeed.
Fabulous. No, that's brilliant. And obviously, we know as coaches as well, you've got to educate around sort of the macros, the training and that kind of thing. But is there anything else you try and instill in the clients beyond that, personally?
Ultimately, what I've seen a lot of from how I talk to my clients, because even though I do try to be the authority figure, a lot of the times I end up just making jokes and being happy with them, is enjoying the journey. Because at the end of the day, you're getting somebody who hasn't been in the gym a lot of times, and like a lot of the time, some of them do, you know what I mean? But if you're talking like really gen pop, they haven't been in the gym, they have never tried to track the calories, they've never tried to lose weight, like they haven't tried to lose weight so like systematically. They'll try a fad diet here and there, and that is a scary thing, because it is basically being a deer in headlights for the first few weeks, and just being there for them, answering the questions, having a good chat with them, having a joke on and a laugh, and obviously treating them like human beings, you know what I mean, is key for me. And I believe once you get them past the initial hump of you've got to eat this diet, you've got to train 3, 4, 5 times a week, you've got to do your steps. Once that routine is built and they enjoy the process, it's smooth sailing, because then you see the weight fly off and then the motivation soars, and then it's a lot of wins from there. And as I say, sometimes the motivation isn't there. Sometimes the scales fluctuate like a roller coaster, and that is your job as a coach, to reassure them and pick them back up and make sure they are doing the best they can in order to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's brilliant. And would you say there's any common mindset issues that you've encountered with clients? And if so, how do you help them navigate that?
A lot of the time, it is just a case of not being truly sold on the process. So, a lot of the time, you'll see clients who track everything right, but they're snacking somewhere else, or they're down on steps, or they won't be training as hard. And it's just because they're not fully sold on the process. And that is my chance then to step in and educate them, to make sure that they understand that if they tick all the boxes, they are going to get to the place they want to much more efficiently, much faster, and much more enjoyably as well. And once, as I say, once they are truly sold into the process and they tick the boxes and they are honest with me when something hasn't gone well, that's when I see the most success from clients. Because the worst thing you can do is tell your coach everything is fine when you're dealing with shit and nothing is going your way. If you hide that, and then the coach sees that, like say, the scales are increasing or the tracking's went a bit bad, and if you're saying, oh no, everything's fine, everything's good, and you're not doing it, then ultimately you're not going to get the most out of this journey, and you're not going to progress the way you want to. So it's just getting them sold into the mindset, and this is how we do it in order to achieve the results. Once they lock in and they understand that, then it's like the sky's the limit. You know what I mean? It's how far they want to go.
Certainly. No, that's brilliant. I love that, and definitely I find that that's the same thing with my clients as well. I think overall as a coach, you've got to show that you care and show that you're bothered. It's the main thing of just being there for them, because a lot of the time as well, there's going to be stresses going on outside the gym, and the more you know, the more you can help. And I think
Exactly.
for anyone getting coached, I think they're getting coached, it's very much the thing of be open and honest, like you said. Let your coach know what's going on, and so we can adapt and help as best we can.
Like, say if your client went and housed like 5 triple cheeseburgers, as long as I know, I can then help the best I can in order to mitigate that damage. But I'm not going to be angry. Oh, you've done this, and now, well, you've done it. It's in the past. All we can do is try the best we can to get back on the wagon and tick the rest of the boxes and get it done. Because especially when you throw somebody into a brand new routine and their old routine was eating everything and anything, of course there's going to be a time in the head where they go, oh, am I, oh, and I've had a pizza, you know what I mean? And if you hide that from me, how then can I help you get through that? You know what I mean? It's just one of those things.
That's right, like, no, 1,000,000%. So, obviously yourself, you've gone through the journey getting to the coaching side of things now. You've been in this peak condition. You've then kind of had like the rebound and that kind of thing. Obviously now you're in a place where you're balanced, I would say. How's that been achieved, and how are you keeping sort of where you are now in a good, healthy spot?
I would say the best thing to do if you have no clear set goals. So right now I haven't got a goal to make my physique look like X, Y, or Z. I don't want to get into, like, I don't want to be at a certain weight. I'm not trying to push food hard and hit 80 kilo or anything. I'm just maintaining what I can whilst I am venturing out to other sports. So as I say, I'm a competitive person, and bodybuilding was the thing I was locked onto. But now I don't consider myself, even though I have bodybuilded, I've been a bodybuilder, I don't consider myself a bodybuilder at this point, because right now I am still eating in a maintenance sort of calorie zone, but I will have an off-plan meal, and I'll have an off-plan meal 2-3 times a week, which is obviously not indicative to somebody who wants to lose weight or anything like that. But where I'm at, it is healthy for me and it works for me, and I'm not going to change that. So that's my nutrition side, is I'm living with a little bit spice of life, a little bit of variety, as they say, because I think I've earned that after being so meticulous for 5 or 6 years. And
Yeah.
then to kind of get out of the mindset of constantly trying to improve my physique, because realistically, my man, I'm not peddling the substances I used to. I have lost muscle because of that. The ceiling that I was at before is much higher than the ceiling I can reach now. I would be eating myself alive if I was saying that I'm going to try to beat myself and be better than myself previously, because I can't. I'm right now, my testosterone is lesser than most males, so there's no chance I can build that massive look. But I can get somewhere good. I'm in a good place right now. So my mindset is trying things that I've never done before. So I'm doing boxing now, which is a form of self-defense, because I'm a lover, not a fighter, and I do punch like a fairy. But I am trying my best to improve. And it's nice to be shit at something, because you know the only way you can go is up, and you can get better. So I've went from now I've done like 6 or 7 boxing sessions, and I'm noticed small improvements. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's great for me, because that's something else I could potentially one day get competitive with. But I'm noticing improvements in a part of my life I have never touched before, and that is enough for me mentally to keep wanting to stay on the path of being fit, healthy, tick all the boxes. With that as well, I've went back and I've started doing a lot more gymnastic-y sort of things, because when I did bodybuilding, I stopped everything completely. Gym
Yeah.
was my focus, and I felt myself getting a lot less athletic. And I've always been an athletic person. Even in my first photo shoot, when I was ridiculously lean, I was doing gymnastics in the gym with my photographer, because I wanted to showcase like my body in motion. That was
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
the theme with it. But I'm slowly regaining my athleticism now.
Brilliant.
I've picked up like a running coach as well. So I've never, when I was on, I could never run. I couldn't run more than 200 meters without getting shin splints or like a big shin pump. But
Yeah.
now I've been able to run like my first ever 5K ever. My first
Class.
ever 5K ran miles, and basically how I'm coping now is by shifting my focus from being a bodybuilder and making my physique as good as possible to just trying to be a bit more athletic, a bit more fit, and pick up some skills along the way. So self-defense, being actually able to move my body faster than walking pace, and that
Yeah.
is enjoyable to me. And then when I go into the gym, and sometimes I don't feel my best, I know that it isn't my sole focus, and I can still enjoy and get out what I can in that space.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant, mate. I love that. So, for someone maybe just starting out, wanting to take things a little bit more seriously, what's one mindset shift that you would ask them to get?
Well, if you're just starting out, you are in a phase where you aren't good at the thing that you're wanting to do. Okay, and with that becomes there's a lot of anxiety around it, and even though you'll try your best not to, you'll feel like people are watching you. So you see this all the time in the gym, where you see somebody is new, and you can tell that they are struggling. But my biggest takeaway is if you have a coach, ultimately that is fantastic. You'll accelerate your progress. You can have somebody looking over your technique, but be consistent. If you are consistent at anything you do in your life, one day you will be successful in it. And obviously, you can just define your own term of success, whether it would be, I've never been in the gym before, and now I go to the gym 3 times a week, and I actually feel like I'm meant to be there. That is a massive win. That could be enough success for somebody to be happy with for the rest of their life. But it's getting over that initial slump of feeling inadequate to then start to feel good. Okay,
Yeah.
and I can really empathise with this, because I was terrible when I first started the gym. Like I had no technique, no form or anything. I had no muscle. But then ultimately, even now, when I've started boxing, I'm not a good boxer. I've never been a fighter. I don't know how to fight, and I'm in that stage of being severely inadequate. But I know, because I'm going to be consistent and I'm going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Eventually, I'll be successful in my own mind, and my own success for that would be just to feel confident when I'm out and about. You know what I mean? When things get a bit leery, I can switch on and be like, I know I can defend myself, and that's going to be
Fantastic.
my definition of success in that
Yeah.
route. But taking it back to the gym, if you can feel like you are meant to be there, then I would say for the general population, that is the biggest amount of success you could ever have. And that
Yeah.
comes with consistency and determination.
That's brilliant, mate. Absolutely gold. So, Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Where can people follow you, learn from you, or even work with you directly? What's the best way to reach you?
Um, well, Instagram is the best place you can find me. It's Josh C Fit _. There's a naughty photo of me pulling a side tricep when I looked absolutely monstrous. It's probably the best photo and the most photo I'm proud of the most. You know what I mean? I reflect back on that one and be like, holy shit, my arm used to be that big. But that's where you can find my sort of training and my day to day. If
Fantastic.
not, you can go to Josh.Obsidian Coaching on Instagram, and that is my work Instagram, and that is where I'll display my clients winning on the day to day via stories, and then I'll post them when they get to their end result, and they're ultimately happy. Hopefully, I'll be there in person, but with the international ones, I just don't have the coin to fly to Australia, X, Y, and Z.
No, very true. Well, Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure. That was the CoachCon Podcast, episode 4 with Josh Coulson. Thank you very much, my friend. Take care.
Thank you for having me on.
Welcome.